I used to murder this name so badly. Newfangled Audio. I think I used to say Newfandangled just because I wanted to throw a D in there. This plugin is a really cool plugin. They have a couple of plugins in their suite. This one I'm going to show you is Saturate. They updated it recently. The clipper functions for me have quite drastically improved. And one of the things that I do like about this is the anti-aliasing. And I just want to go into some of the details first before I play the audio. So skip past to the audio example if you want to just hear that straight away. I'll have a timestamp. But I'm going to cover off some of these. So the drive function has always been there. Preserve detail has kind of just stepped in recently. Symmetry, I think that's something that was new, or I can't really recall if it was there or not before. The ceiling was always there, and the waveform, these two things here have always been there. But the thing that I do like with the anti-aliasing is the fact that you can use this, and now you're not going to have aliasing in the mix when you're trying to use it at different sample rates. Obviously, they're using this for oversampling, and that is quite good as a feature. It does take a bit of CPU on my system, and that's because I'm running both these plugins. So if I disengage the limiter section here, which is this plugin here, that's taken off some of the CPU. The other thing, CPU, it's not too bad. If I was to turn off Saturate, you can see this meter go right down in just a minute. Once it does, it recovers. I'm still on the Intel computer as well, by the way. I'm not on the new M1 chip. So my i9, I think 32 or 64, I can't remember the RAM, but something like that. I believe it's 32. I'm going to turn this off, and I just want to show you the clipper section just by itself. Because Saturate is that on its own, and it has a little bit more parameter wise as far as anti-aliasing. And I just want to have a listen to this and see what it does to my track, because you guys obviously might or may not be interested in this. And somebody has asked me about this in the comments in the other video I did quite a few years back. So let's have a listen to this track. Be aware that, you know, all of the plugins that I've got on this mix up until this point are going to take CPU. So don't take this as a scientific test on how much CPU this is using. I'm just telling you based on this mix and, you know, some of the plugins I've got along the chain. This does take a bit. It's not, you know, a CPU hog, but it definitely takes some. So let's check this mix out, see what this can do. I'm going to set these parameters back to, let's just go back to scratch. If there is the default. There we go. So that's default. So 3, we don't want that. So we're just going to turn that off, and we'll check out what this actually sounds like. Engage, disengage. So let's go. Let's have a listen. Now, what I've tried to do here is just keep the levels the same. So I'm not kind of tricking you guys to make it, you know, sound different or not. This is on auto. So this is automatically compensating for the output levels. And that's by about minus 6.5 dB from what I can see on the meters there. We'll just double check and see. And what I'm going to do is then allow it to increase the volume, because obviously that's the point of this plugin. Sometimes you want to increase the volume. Be aware the volume is going to be a little bit louder. So I'm going to turn that up just now. Just check this out. So you can kind of hear what it's doing there. It is taking some of those transients and cutting them right off. It's definitely giving you a bit of a louder volume. It's kind of what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to saturate the audio, so it gives you that saturated sound. You can choose how much of that you want by obviously reducing the drive and just not having so much push into the plugin. But this plugin is really good. If you want to have something that pushes the audio up and gives you that extra volume without pushing, like you can see here, I've still got the same peak level that I had before the plugin. If I kept disengaging, engaging, it stayed at that same peak level. Every once in a while, the peak level without the plugin would hit 5 point something. So I gained a little bit of peak level movement there as far as that's concerned. But this plugin is definitely giving me a saturated sound, and that's the point of it. You can change these parameters, and I'll just go through this in just a second. But it is definitely a worthwhile contender as far as looking at a saturator or a clipper if you want just this plugin on its own. And if you're looking at the other part, the mastering section here, I'll just use that after this, and I'm going to disengage the clipper on this plugin here so I don't get too much extra makeup. And I might just use the actual limiter itself. So let's check this out. I'll put the auto on that as well, and we'll keep this here, and then we're going to try and work around what we've got with these two plugins as you hear what I'm doing. Let's go. One thing I really love about this, and I've always really liked about this, and I showed you guys in the original video, if you did see that, is the filter banks, how you can solo them, up to a certain point and just listen to the low end frequencies, or do the same with the high end frequencies, and then kind of work around, what you want to have or listen to as far as that's concerned. So you could listen to just the highs, the lows. You have to hold shift on your keyboard if you want to solo these, and just check this out. So you can kind of hear the frequencies and where they're irritating. It gives you a good perspective of what's in the mix and what's not. And, if you want to just listen to the mids, you could do that as well. But I really like this, and I've always liked this about this plugin because I can tune my low end frequencies really effectively. And then I just know where I'm sitting, and I'm not going to go, like what the heck's going on with my low end frequencies there. So let's just unsolo that and have a listen to the whole mix. All right, so you can kind of hear the mix is sounding quite clean. Like this mix isn't too bad anyway, but The low end frequencies, I took out some of this really sub stuff that I didn't want in the 102 and the 218 area. And then I added that real low end stuff that's right at the bottom there. But that kind of gave me that sub frequency that I do like about this. Just another side note as well, if you didn't know info, the settings, you can actually apply dither. So you've got 24-bit down to 8-bit dithering. If you want to do that, you can put dither automatically in the plugin, and that controls the dithering. So in Ozone, you can do similar kind of things. Let's get rid of this. You can put dithering in it as well. But there are some other features in Ozone that this doesn't have that I'm not going to go over too much. But just so you know, that's available there. Let's have a listen to this plugin. It's going to be a bit louder, so we'll check this out. All right, so that's kind of the vibe of this plugin. You can see that my max peak level was -1, so that's still good for a lot of platforms if you're talking about, overs or distortion or harmonics like that. Again, like I said, you can push this this level here, or if you didn't want to use the clipper and the saturate functions, you can use some of them inside of the Elevate plugin. Like I said, it's a good plugin. It does use a fair bit of CPU. As you can see here, they're both going together. If I was disengaging that takes out some of the CPU. But, all of these together, it does combine a fair bit of CPU usage. So just keep in mind, that is one of the things of this plugin. But again, if you're mastering with this plugin, you're not looking at doing it on a whole mix with a whole bunch of plugins like I'm doing now. It's just something you'd probably isolate. Well, you might want to, but generally you might isolate the mix first and then go into the mastering stage with that mix. So you've got a fresh pair of ears, and you can actually hear and see what's going on, and you're not hogging your CPU as well. And that kind of stuff. So hopefully this is useful to you. Hopefully this is a good example of this plugin, and you got something out of this. If you did, remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace out.